Once upon a time, there was a group of very clever primates that figured out not following the rules gave them an advantage over their fellow Earthlings. They figured out using other creatures' skin to protect them from the elements was more efficient than growing your own hair, which is prone to parasites. They also found using sharp sticks to hunt from afar was safer and more effective than facing your prey in close quarters. Not only that, they found out how to make plants grow for them and give them a reliable source of food year-round. Eventually, they will figure out how to enslave other creatures and use their strengths and even their bodies as food, which would eventually lead these clever primates to enslave their fellow primates, so they could build the infrastructure needed to grow a great civilization, which would depend on slavery for a surprisingly long time. And they broke all these rules for what? Hello dear audience, my name is Bernard Belmont. I will be your humble narrator on this journey to discover why these clever primates keep breaking the rules and what's the point behind it all. I'm new to creating content on YouTube, so please be gentle, my technique will be rough. First, a small disclaimer. Anyone who tells you they know all the answers is lying. And I'm not here to tell you I have it all figured out. On the contrary, I feel just as lost and scared as anyone. We all feel the same joys and sorrows. The reasons may be different, but the results are the same. Today's story is just to try to illustrate a hypothesis which is very simple, yet it could teach us about the actual meaning of life. And yes, there are many individual meanings of life. Probably the same number as living creatures, because each living creature can have their own meaning. But if there was a universal goal or objective that unifies us all, like a compass, to guide us and give us a true north, well, that's the question we'll explore today. The protagonists of our story are the rules behind life itself and what they really mean for the clever primates. The universe, at its most basic description, is just matter interacting with other matter. Dancing, if you will. And all of this dancing happens under a set of rules which the clever primates have managed to understand pretty well. They call them the laws of thermodynamics, physics, and chemistry. And the clever primates still have a lot to learn, but they understand these rules to the point they can build predictive models to shape the world in such a way it fits their needs. Of course, this is nothing new, so your humble narrator won't dive deep into this subject. But there is still a big unknown, which is, why do the forces that govern our story behave the way they do? Why does gravity affect matter the way it does? Why does oxidation happen? Why does osmosis work the way it does? Why does electricity perform work? Why does the universe have entropy? And your humble narrator believes the clever primates found an answer. No one individual can take credit for these observations. They are based on the work of thousands of people, philosophers, scientists, and so many unnamed that with their combined efforts have helped to make today's world what it is. And the hypothesis goes like this. There is a force that governs all forces and interactions in the universe. Call it the law of equivalence. This is the force that makes the universe constantly go towards neutrality, which means nothing is gained and nothing is lost, just like the laws of thermodynamics and the laws of physics state. But what does this really mean to the individual or to the civilization? It means there is no gain without sacrifice, nor sacrifice without gain. In simple terms, there is no win-win or lose-lose scenarios. Even the best of situations will have a negative aspect to it, and the most horrid of situations will have something positive to them. And this is not news to anyone. But what your humble narrator is here to illustrate is that this ratio of good versus bad is exactly 50-50, meaning there is no such thing as good and bad. A natural first reaction will be an obvious no. There are situations most would not like to live through. And most of these negative scenarios are based on biological needs. The vast majority of clever primates do not want to feel hunger, despair, or torture. But those who have suffered these conditions come out the other side stronger, more determined, or don't come out of it at all. And let me be clear, death is not a punishment nor a reward. It is the ultimate equalizer. All of your happiness, joys, and general goodness ends in an instant, but all of your fears, your pains, your anguishes end as well. Therefore, death is just like everything else, neither good nor bad. And if you meditate on it, we can never view death as any type of punishment. Otherwise, all living creatures would be on their way to be punished. So when we take an objective look at all situations and truly see them for what they are, without any bias, especially biological needs bias, we can see that all situations stretching back as far as we can see from the Big Bang all the way to the Big Freeze have been and will be equivalent. Let's take a look at some examples. War is one of the stupidest things the clever primates can do, but their greatest technological advancements have happened because of war. From duct tape, radar, to the internet, all are thanks to wars. Take another example, slavery. One of the most horrid things a clever primate can do to another clever primate, but this practice has led to the greatest empire and to the greatest nation on earth. And yes, it is difficult to hear, but the past cannot be changed, and the present wouldn't be what it is otherwise. Now on to more personal examples, like pain. Most would agree pain is bad, but the truth is, just like everything else, pain is neither good nor bad. Pain is an extremely useful survival mechanism. Without it, living creatures would not live very long. What about emotional pain? That certainly must be a bad event, correct? And the answer again is neither. Because not only emotional pain makes the clever primates bond to one another in a very strong way, it also teaches them the biggest lessons in life. Just like the saying goes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Clever primates can't grow and mature without emotional suffering. It is important to remember that biological needs blind the clever primates and guide them like a carrot on a stick. They strongly believe their lives could be so much better if they only had such and such, or lived in a different place, surrounded by different people. Basically, the grass is always greener somewhere else. But the truth is, their lives would only be different. Not better, not worse, only different. That's why, still after all of the modern comforts enjoyed by the clever primates, they still find new reasons to complain and fight about. And don't get me wrong, there are legitimate reasons, and that in part is the point. How can these clever primates still legitimately complain? After all, their lives are so different, so much better compared to their ancestors. And the answer is simple. Their lives are not better. There is no such thing as real progress or advancement, nor change. In this universe, there is only exchange. In this universe, you must sacrifice something of equal value in order to get something else. No buts, nor ifs about it. It's just like taking steps forward. Something undoubtedly must be left behind. In the literal sense, the ground is the one being left behind, but in the cultural sense, it's much more complicated. Again, a natural reaction would be to say, no, these clever primates do have better lives today compared to 100 years ago, not to mention 10,000 years ago. As far as biological needs go, your humble narrator agrees 100% with the notion that clever primates have easier lives today. But easier doesn't mean better. And aren't we forgetting about the cost of modern living? A lot, not all, but clever primates have more food, access to clean water, transportation, modern toys, and pretty much figured out how their bodies work, meaning they have extended their very existence. But again, at what cost? Modern slavery? Industrialized farming? Massive extractions of natural resources, which destroy ecosystems? And keep in mind, all of these costs are just related to biological needs, not related to emotional needs nor personal realization needs. Finally, it goes without saying, all of these situations force the clever primates to have governments and countries which constantly bicker and fight, not because they want to, but because they must. There is no gain without sacrifice, nor sacrifice without gain. It may be starting to sound like this story is just another complaint about how these clever primates produce their stuff, but this story is neither a praise nor a complaint. This story is just to illustrate how the clever primates will always have to pay a price no matter the situation, but there is good news. There will always be a benefit too, no matter the situation. Take their modern toys as an example. They grant the clever primates the ability to live a modern lifestyle. So that alone proves that the price of producing stuff is not bad, it's neutral, just like everything else, just like every situation ever. So what is the point? If being rich versus being poor is equivalent, or being sick versus healthy is equivalent, or being young versus old is equivalent, what is the meaning of life? If all what the clever primates do is believe in words like progress, improvement, and words like change, when the nature of reality is there is only exchange, nothing gained, nothing lost. It's like the universe is a giant treadmill. Clever primates think there is progress because stuff is moving around, it looks and feels different, but the truth is they are stationary and will always be stationary. In a big way, that is the point, to realize we are stationary and to comprehend the fundamental reason why that is. It's because of that one law, the one law to rule them all, the law of equivalence, which makes everything be neutral, and it guides our very lives, just like train tracks. It controls how far we can go and exactly where we're going. In a big way, that is the point, to realize we are stationary and to comprehend the fundamental reason why that is. It's because of that one law, the law to rule them all, the law of equivalence, which makes everything be neutral, and it guides our very lives just like train tracks. It controls how far we can go and exactly where we're going. So as your humble narrator, I apologize, because at this point, I have to put myself in the narrative and say, fuck that. We can find a way to break free from the tracks. Stop being biological automatons. Stop being guided by our natural instincts, which makes us bottomless barrels. We want more and more without end. We can never be fully satisfied, to the point we all fall under the spell that we're going to live forever. Or believing concepts like an eternal afterlife. We are basically addicts to food, money, status, attention, and pleasure when we know for a fact we can't have it all. Because all situations have positive aspects to them and negative aspects too. And if I did a good job of explaining it, we now know with certainty that this ratio of good versus bad is exactly 50-50. So to sum up, to create a universe free from energy requirements, that is the meaning of life. Something very similar to what religions propose. And it makes sense that religions would get the objective right. They are, after all, born out of our sorrows and our hopes. Plus, religions have acted for a very long time as a social glue, bringing people together, but at the same time, tear societies apart with deadly consequences. Thus, it's very easy to see the eternal duality of religions. So religions got the objective right, but not the method to actually achieve it. Because the way they go about it, it's by hoping your equivalent deeds somehow get you into an inequivalent dimension when you die. Which, if you think about it, the price of entry is your life. Thus, the price is too high. And it would just mean more of the same equivalence we already have here on Earth. To clarify once more, to escape reality, this is the meaning of life. And we instinctively try to do this almost every day when we watch a movie, read a book, or find ways to entertain ourselves. It illustrates our natural inclination towards escapism. Because deep down we have always known that reality is neither good nor bad. Reality is just what it is. No actual change, just perpetual exchange. I can propose 3 ways to achieve the meaning of life here in this plane of existence, but they are not easy. So depending on this video's reception, I will discuss them on future videos. Thank you for your time. I hope I didn't come across too crazy, just enough to be revolutionary. But whether you agree or disagree, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment down below, and please, let's make this a large conversation. So share my video with anyone who wants to hear a new take on the meaning of life. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.